Imagine being like 16 years old, sitting across from a guidance counselor, and they ask you to just map out the rest of your professional life.
Oh, it's terrifying.
Right. It feels entirely absurd. You're basically being handed a blank piece of paper and told uh, to draw this highly detailed map of a country you've never even set foot in.
Yeah, and yet that is exactly what we ask young people to do all the time.
Every single day. We tell them to pick a single destination, plot a rigid straight line on a graph, and then just march toward that point for the next 50 years. No wavering allowed.
It's just a staggering amount of pressure to put on anyone, let alone a teenager. And I mean, society heavily reinforces this linear model.
Totally.
We're conditioned to view careers as these fixed destinations. Like you climb a specific ladder, you finally reach the top rung, and then poof, the assumption is that you've magically arrived. You have achieved meaning.
But what if that entire model is just, well, fundamentally broken? Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're immersing ourselves in a piece of source material that completely shatters that straight line myth.
It really does.
We're exploring a memoir by Greg Valentine. It's called Time and Becoming: A Life in Music, Work, Memory, and Meaning. And even the physical cover of this book tells a story before you read a single word.
Oh, the cover is brilliant.
Yeah, on one side, you have this rich painted landscape of dense stone terraced houses, like nestled in a northern valley. But right alongside it, there are these expansive photographs of a sunset over the open sea.
That visual contrast is so deliberate. It perfectly captures the core tension of any professional life. You have the heavy pull of staying rooted in where you came from versus the necessary risk of setting out into the total unknown.
Exactly. So our mission today is to really tear into this memoir, not just because it's a wild biography, which it definitely is, but because it serves as an incredibly potent educational tool.
Absolutely.
If you're an educator or like a careers lead at a school or a student staring down your future, this deep dive is designed for you. Also, if you're looking for something substantial to publish on your LinkedIn page to promote career education journeys, this is it.
It's the perfect resource for that, because we are going to break down Valentine's argument that meaning isn't something you just store in a job title.
Because it isn't.
Right. It isn't. The central thesis we're exploring today is that meaning is generated in the messy, often really uncomfortable and deeply unpredictable process of adaptation.
Yeah.
It's about continuously becoming rather than ever truly arriving. But, to understand how someone builds a career that adaptable, you have to look at what they poured into their foundation first.
And Valentine's foundation is poured in the 1970s in this place called Ramsbottom.
Bottom, yeah.
It's this contained valley town in the north of England, physically dominated by this massive landmark called Holcombe Hill, which literally watches over the town. And he is born into a massive household there.
He's the youngest of 7 children.
Yep, the youngest of 7. A twin, actually, born right at the stroke of midnight. And the text spends a lot of time on his mother, Wynne. She is just an absolute force of nature.
Oh, she's incredible.
She's raising 7 kids, she's working in a canteen, she's washing, cooking, and doing something she called making hens meet.
I love that phrase, making hens meet.
Yeah, what does that even mean?
Well, it was her term for taking incredibly scarce resources and stretching them far beyond what seemed mathematically possible just to keep the family afloat. She was in this state of perpetual, resourceful motion.
Okay, but I want to challenge something here. Modern career advice is totally obsessed with this idea of resilience. You go on LinkedIn, and there are 1,000 seminars offering resilience as a sort of like life hack.
Right, the 5-step strategy.
Exactly, a 5-step strategy you can just download into your brain. But the text calls what Valentine learned inherited resilience. How does a kid actually inherit that if they aren't explicitly being taught it? Wynne wasn't giving PowerPoint presentations on grit.
No, she definitely wasn't. And you're hitting on the exact mechanism that makes inherited resilience so much more durable than, seminar resilience. A child doesn't learn endurance through a lecture. They learn it through osmosis. Valentine absorbed a baseline orientation to the world by simply watching his mother operate.
Ah, okay.
The mechanism is normalization. When you watch someone repeatedly face a deficit, whether it's a lack of money or a lack of time, and their response is never panic, but always a pragmatic search for what is workable, that just becomes your default operating system.
It's like being exposed to a tough climate early on. You don't read a book about shivering, right?
Yeah.
Your body just learns how to regulate its temperature.
That is a perfect analogy. He learned that struggle is just a standard condition of the environment. It's not a sign that the world is ending.
Yeah.
And when you apply that to career education, it completely changes how we frame early, unglamorous jobs for young people.
Which he had plenty of. I mean, long before he's a professional, he is plucking turkeys in the freezing back room of a local butcher shop.
Sounds awful.
Right.
Yeah.
He is stacking shelves at Kay's Cosmetics just to earn his own money. And he isn't doing this to build a resume for college. He's doing it to buy a King 4B trombone that cost 250 pounds.
Which was a fortune back then.
Total fortune. And eventually, he uses his earnings to buy cars. First, this rusty Vauxhall Viva for 150 pounds, and later, a Ford Capri.
And those cars, they're not about teenage status signaling at all.
No.
No. In the context of a contained valley town, purchasing a car is this profound moment of career agency. It's the sudden mechanical realization that you are no longer a prisoner to the geography you were born into.
You could actually leave.
Exactly. You suddenly have the power to choose a vector.
And the vector he chooses is pretty extreme. He points that car straight out of the valley and drives into the Royal Marines band service at Deal Barracks in Kent.
At 16.
He is just 16 years old, so he goes from the total freedom of his first car into, honestly, one of the most brutal, highly structured environments on the planet.
The physical training alone is punishing.
Yeah, the book says they are forced to march into the freezing sea. They are doing endless push-ups on the parade ground until the absolute slowest recruit finishes.
While simultaneously undergoing world-class elite musical instruction.
And see, I have a massive problem with this part of the narrative, because the military, fundamentally, exists to enforce strict conformity.
Right.
They shave your head, they put you in a uniform, they break down your ego, but music and art in general demands intense individual expression.
It does.
So if you put a creative 16-year-old into a machine designed to enforce conformity, how does that career not just snap in half? It seems like those two forces should completely destroy each other.
Well, it's a brilliant paradox to point out.
Oh.
But it assumes that structure is the enemy of creativity. And the text argues the exact opposite.
Really?
Yeah. The rigid structure of the Marines didn't erase their individuality. It acted as psychological scaffolding.
Scaffolding? Wait, what do you mean by scaffolding?
Think about constructing a building, right? You need a rigid framework on the outside to hold things steady while the delicate, complex work happens on the inside.
Oh, I see.
The military stripped away all of the fragile civilian entitlement. It forced a baseline of discipline that acted as this highly pressurized container. When you don't have to worry about whether you feel inspired today because the structure dictates that you absolutely must perform, your technical skill grows at a terrifying rate.
Okay, so the discipline basically removes the friction of choice. You just have to do the work.
Exactly.
And the ultimate test of that container happens at Wembley Stadium. The book details this incredible story from 1982. It's the FA Cup replay.
Such an intense scene.
Valentine is 17 years old. The band is marched out onto the pitch, and it is a sweltering, incredibly humid day. And they are wearing these heavy, suffocating wool uniforms and actual tiger skins.
And they are ordered to stand rigidly at attention.
Right, and the physical toll is immediate. The heat radiating off the grass is so intense that these highly trained musicians literally start dropping.
Just passing out.
Yeah, a guy just to Valentine's left completely crumbles to the pitch with heat stroke. Then another guy goes down. But because of that scaffolding you mentioned, nobody breaks formation to help them. They just hold the line, staring straight ahead.
It's intense. But if you are listening to this right now and thinking about your own workplace, there is a massive lesson hidden in that Wembley story.
About what?
About where authority actually comes from. In the civilian world, we often assume respect is granted by, like, a title on an email signature or a promotion.
Sure.
But in high-stakes environments, true authority is earned entirely through shared endurance.
You prove that you can carry the weight of the structure so the collective show can go on.
Yes.
That's why later the text mentions they eventually played on the highly polished decks of the Royal Yacht Britannia for actual royalty. You don't get handed an assignment like that unless your superiors know, without a shadow of a doubt, that you will not melt under pressure.
But, you also can't survive purely on discipline without a release valve.
Ah, right.
The structure will eventually crush you.
Which explains the secret jazz band. I love this detail so much.
It's a great detail.
On Wednesday nights, Valentine and some colleagues would sneak off to a local pub called the Forester to just play jazz.
It is the perfect mechanical counterweight. I mean, you spend your entire day marching in perfectly straight lines, adhering to strict sheet music where every single note is mandated.
Yeah.
And then you spend your evening exploring the improvised spaces between the notes in jazz.
Hmm.
It proves that even within the most rigid career structure, you have to actively carve out spaces to generate your own creative oxygen, or you will suffocate.
Man, that's such a good point. So he survives the Marines. He learns the discipline. He plays the Royal Yacht. He learns how to breathe through jazz. And then he transitions into the civilian workforce.
The next big pivot.
Yeah. He leaves the military and forms a professional civilian band called Alpha Connection.
Which technically started while he was still in uniform, actually.
Oh, right, the loophole.
Yeah, using a military loophole called negative ties. It allowed them to play civilian gigs in plain clothes. But once they fully transitioned out of the Marines, they entered an entirely different and arguably more dangerous pressure cooker.
Because suddenly the market demands absolute versatility. They are hustling to survive. The book describes them playing sophisticated dinner jazz one night and then pivoting to become like a Bavarian foot-stomping band the next.
They did whatever paid the bills.
Valentine even ends up playing the trombone with his foot on the live BBC television show That's Life.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it is just pure, unadulterated spectacle.
And we had to be very careful with spectacle when we talk about career longevity.
Why is that?
Because spectacle operates exactly like a narcotic in the entertainment industry. It demands constant, exhausting escalation. To maintain the audience's attention, you always have to do something more extreme than what you did the night before.
Which pulls us right into the dark side of ambition. In 1991, Alpha Connection decides they need a massive spectacle to raise money for charity, so they attempt a world record.
This part is wild.
They commit to playing music for 108 hours straight.
With punishingly strict rules, they were permitted precisely 5 minutes of rest for every hour played. That is an impossible physiological demand.
I really struggle with this part of the narrative, honestly. Didn't they just trade the forced discipline of the military for a self-inflicted civilian burnout?
Pretty much.
Because the way he describes this marathon, it sounds like redlining a car engine. Just keeping the pedal slammed to the floor until the pistons literally shoot through the hood.
It was incredibly destructive.
He describes severe physiological breakdown, sleep deprivation, and full-blown hallucinations while trying to play his instrument.
They absolutely did redline the engine. And that is exactly why this story is so crucial for modern career education.
How so?
Well, we live in an era heavily influenced by hustle culture. It preaches that pushing past your absolute physical and mental limits is a virtue.
Oh, right. Sleep when you're dead.
Exactly. It tells you that burnout is just the price of admission to success. But the 108-hour marathon proves mechanically that pushing past your limits doesn't make you a superhuman. It makes you hollow.
It's like overtraining in the gym. If you lift too heavy for too long without resting, the muscle doesn't get stronger, it just tears.
Yes, exactly. Endurance is a tool that can take you incredibly far. But if it is not governed by boundary setting, it will destroy the very vessel trying to do the work.
And Valentine realizes this by watching another performer, right? The text provides this beautiful contrast between that grueling marathon and the legendary British entertainer Roy Castle.
Oh, the Roy Castle moment.
Yeah, Valentine is standing in the wings backstage watching Roy Castle perform, and it is the antithesis of the marathon.
Completely different vibe.
There is no agonizing display of survival or grinding effort. Roy's performance is entirely effortless, generous, and visibly joyful.
Because Roy Castle understood the difference between capability and capacity. Surviving a 108-hour grind might get your name in the paper for a day. It might impress people temporarily.
But it doesn't last.
No. Joy and ease are what sustain a career over multiple decades. That moment in the wings taught Valentine that true career longevity requires active stewardship of your body and a deep, protective care for your craft.
But, no matter how much you care for the craft, industries inevitably shift. The era of the Alpha Connection eventually winds down.
As all eras do.
And this brings us to a massive pivot point. If you've spent your whole life as a performer, how do you pivot without feeling like your career has died?
You pivot by recognizing that your skills are transferable, even if the stage looks completely different.
Right.
Valentine transitions into AV work, setting up audiovisual equipment for high-level corporate and government conferences.
I have to admit, my first reaction reading this was that it sounded like a massive ego hit.
Really?
Yeah, he went from being the front man, a guy playing trombone on BBC television, to the anonymous guy in a black polo shirt, taping down cables and plugging in laptops for other people to speak. It's like an elite athlete voluntarily deciding to become a referee.
Well, if you measure a career strictly by ego and visibility, yes, it looks like a demotion.
Yeah.
But if you measure a career by the acquisition of knowledge, it is a masterstroke. Valentine didn't view AV work as a failure. He viewed it as a paid apprenticeship in observation.
Okay, explain that. How is setting up projectors an apprenticeship?
Because the person at the tech desk is the invisible center of the room. He is running the audio for NHS leadership summits, massive data analytics conventions, and complex government policy meetings.
Oh, wow.
To load the slide decks and cue the microphones, he actually had to read the material and listen to the speakers. He had a front row, unvarnished seat to how global power structures actually operate.
It's like he was suddenly able to read the matrix code of the corporate world.
Exactly.
He notes in the book that he could see the massive glaring gap between a politician's stated policy intentions and the messy reality on the ground. He's absorbing high-level discussions about unicorn companies and data-driven futures years before those concepts hit the mainstream public consciousness.
And here is where it gets truly fascinating. While he is doing this grueling manual labor loading trucks, pulling cables late at night, he decides to pursue a philosophy degree via distance learning.
The juxtaposition there is just amazing to me.
It's so cool.
He'd be driving a van home from a late-night corporate gig, or sitting in a noisy London cafe before an exam, quietly reading Immanuel Kant and studying ethical frameworks.
Yeah.
But how do those two worlds connect? How does Kant apply to a corporate data conference?
They connect by providing him with an analytical framework to process what he was observing. The manual labor kept him grounded in reality, while the philosophy gave him the vocabulary to question the ethics and structures of the leaders he was watching on stage.
That makes a lot of sense.
He was synthesizing practical observation with high-level theory. And the lesson for students here is profound.
What's the lesson?
The most valuable transformative education in your entire career often happens when you are not the one holding the microphone.
Wow. And all of these widely disparate threads. The inherited resilience from his mother, the brutal discipline of the Marines, the spectacle of the civilian music industry, the backstage observation of global policy, and the ethical grounding of philosophy, they all weave together into what he does today.
Exactly. Today, Greg Valentine serves as a geography and music teacher, and crucially, as the careers lead at Swanmore College.
Which, when you look at the whole map we just drew, makes total sense.
It is the absolute perfect culmination of his journey. He realizes that his primary utility now is not to perform, but to stand as a bridge between generations.
Yeah.
He actively uses his own nonlinear, highly unpredictable path to help his students grapple with the complexity of the modern world.
There is this deeply moving scene near the end of the book that takes place on Remembrance Day at the school.
Oh, that's a beautiful moment.
Valentine is standing there, in his role as a teacher, watching his young pupils fall into respectful silence. And as he watches them, he is internally reflecting on his own past, remembering what it felt like to be their age, wearing the Royal Marines uniform, holding a trombone, and playing the music for those exact same military ceremonies decades ago.
That moment beautifully crystallizes his mission.
Yeah.
He isn't there to just hand out generic, glossy career pamphlets that tell kids to climb a corporate ladder.
Right.
He is there to help the next generation choose their vectors with open eyes, armed with the knowledge that the path will be messy.
So if a panicked 16-year-old walks into his office today and asks for a definitive career roadmap, he doesn't give them one. He essentially hands them a blank piece of paper and a compass instead of a GPS and tells them to start exploring.
Because Valentine's life proves that the need for reinvention is not a symptom of failure. The straight-line career is a statistical myth. Our professional life isn't measured by a single static destination you reach at age 65. It is measured by the quality of your daily habits, your stewardship of your own well-being, and your relentless willingness to keep adapting.
It's so true.
For any young person or professional who is terrified of choosing the wrong path, this book offers the ultimate reassurance. No experience is wasted if you use it to learn.
It really is a remarkable story. If we zoom out and look at the whole journey, it's just breathtaking.
It really is.
We started in a quiet, contained valley in Ramsbottom learning how to stretch resources. We stood rigidly at attention in the sweltering heat of Wembley Stadium, and later played for royalty on the Royal Yacht Britannia.
Amazing.
We pushed the human body to the point of hallucination in a 108-hour music marathon. We sat quietly in the dark at an AV desk, observing the invisible gears of global policy while reading Kant. And we finally ended up in a school classroom, synthesizing all of that lived experience to guide the next generation.
The overarching through line is undeniable. A successful, meaningful career is heavily improvised based on the rooms you happen to find yourself in.
Yeah.
It requires you to remain fiercely open-minded, but anchored by
Oh,
discipline.
you absolutely need to check out the sources for this deep dive. If you are involved in career education, mentoring, or if you're just staring at your own professional map wondering where to draw the next line, Time and Becoming by Greg Valentine is a brilliant, essential resource.
Definitely.
Like I said earlier, it is the perfect book to share on your LinkedIn or with your professional networks if you're promoting a career educational journey.
I want to leave you with a thought to mull over today.
Okay, let's hear it.
Take a moment and look around at the rigid structures in your own professional life right now. Look at your current job title, your daily routine, the specific industry you operate in.
Right.
Are you allowing those temporary things to fundamentally define who you are as a human being? Or are you using them the way they are meant to be used as scaffolding? Are they just temporary structures holding you steady, teaching you discipline, while you go about the messy, beautiful, and lifelong business of figuring out who you are going to become next?
Because at 16 or 46 or 66, you cannot possibly draw an accurate map of a country you haven't visited yet. All you can do is check your compass, embrace the unknown, and start walking.